Hey guys, welcome to RC Video Reviews. In this video, we're going to take a look at the Hobbywing Multifunction LCD Programming Box Pro. Normally, I don't do videos for devices that are kind of this simple, like Programming Box. They really just don't do them, but there's a reason I'm doing this one, and it's because of the Bluetooth capability. And I also wanted to point out that Hobbywing also sells a Bluetooth dongle. So the dongle, here's the weird thing. The dongle, 65 bucks, and it is small enough that it could actually be left in an airplane. But, I don't know why anyone would leave a $65 programmer in an airplane, because it's not like, when it comes to programming, we don't really spend a lot of time programming ESCs. Now, maybe if you're using the helicopter governor on the ESC, maybe you want to do some PID tuning. That might make some sense. But outside of that, the other program box that they have doesn't have any kind of connectivity at all, just a standard wire to the ESC. This one is interesting to me because it allows you to do like field programming. You can connect a wire and connect it to the box. And I'm going to plug the ESC in right now. I'm just going to connect a battery. And just for demo purposes, I'm using a Hobbywing 130 amp 12S ESC. So I plugged it in, and right off the bat, you can see it connects, and we can go into parameters. And this by itself is not that impressive. It's just a programmer. So it does a good job bringing up the options and letting you see what you've got to manipulate here. So if I want to change my flight mode, I press the jog dial and I can change it to fixed wing mode or linear throttle or store governor or whatever. It's that all those features are typical. You hit save once you pick your option, that'll save it, and then you can hit back and you go back to the menu settings, right? And you can make your other changes. So, BEC voltage, all the traditional things that you can control with a programmer. So that's all mildly interesting. I'm going to hit the back button and show you under system settings some of the options. You can change the language, the brightness of the screen, so you can scroll that up or down. You can change the I'll hit back here. You can change the on-off beep. You can turn the beep on and off, which to me, it's really annoying. I turned it off because otherwise it beeps on everything. And then you can get device information about the ESC, like your firmware version, and you can get information about the programming box, including the firmware on the programming box. All right, so that's those are the main functions. You can obviously reset the device itself, and then in the data in the mode setting, this one's kind of interesting because you can add setup files, which really means export a setup file. So your current settings, you can export them. You click on add and put in a name, and this is a little bit of a kludgy interface. I'm not gonna lie, it's okay, I guess, but it's a little kludgy. But you use the scroll dial to pick letters, and once you're done with that, then you hit back and you go down here to storage. If I can get it to stop there, click on storage, and it'll write that file out with the current settings. And then if after you've done that, you can go back and choose import, and you can see I've written out a couple of files. So here's AA is a fixed wing config, BB is a helicopter config. So if I import BB, you'll see that I set up the helicopter governor, and I'll let that load, and then we'll click back and go into the parameter settings, and there we go. So when I load the parameters up, we should see a helicopter governor. And again, this is all stuff that can be done at the field, right? So that's the point. So let's scroll up and we'll see here. There it is, helicopter linear throttle. Okay, now we'll go back. Keep in mind that's helicopter linear throttle. We'll go back and we'll do mode setting again. We'll import a setup file, and I'll do AA, which should be fixed wing. So I'll click on import for that one. And I guess the idea here is if for some reason you want to change back and forth between profiles on your ESC, that's certainly an easy way to do it. One example might be if you're going to try the internal versus external governor. You might want to do that. I can tell you and see how now the flight mode is fixed wing. So that's profiles on the device, and that's about it. That's the main thing I wanted to show you on the device. Now, one other thing I want to do before I get into the Bluetooth, because I do want to show you that. So, bottom line, very competent, nice screen, easy navigation. I guess the scroll wheel can be a little bit fiddly, but it's not terrible. And then you've got the back button and the save button. So very simple, like no great shakes here over the standard programming box. And then also note it's got the balance port up here, so you can technically use it as a battery checker. But you know my deal. If you say you're going to do something, then I want to see how well you do it. So I'm going to connect this battery to a balance board, and then I'm going to connect my balance board to the checker. And let's see, the positive goes this way. All right, there we go. So that should bring up the cell count, or the battery checker. And I'm going to just bring in my Fluke, and I'm going to connect the Fluke to the cells, and we'll see how it does. So right here, I'm going to be on cell 1, and cell 1 is reading 3. Let me get a pointer here. So cell 1 is reading 3.76, and I get that on the Fluke, fine. Cell number 2, 3.783. This is reading 3.81. It could be a little better. That could be a little better. It's not terrible, but it could be a little better. Here's the third one, 3.78. Now I'm seeing a little bit of a discrepancy. That I'm not real thrilled about that. That gap is a little too much for my taste. Cell 4, 3.82, and I'm seeing 3.78, so that's okay, I guess. And then cell 5, that says 3.8. I'm seeing fluctuations, 3.83. I'll pop that on the meter, and I see 3.78. And then finally, the last cell, 3.75. And I see 3.78. So it's okay. It's not great. I can tell you that it's not great. For me, I would not. I don't envision a scenario where I'd use this as a cell checker. I don't think it's accurate enough. And as far as I can tell, there's no way to calibrate this device either. So you can't plug it into your meter and do testing and say, well, I'll calibrate it to get the voltage right. I'm not aware of any way to do that. Perhaps, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. Maybe it does. I'm just not aware of it. Okay, so that's it for that part of the testing. Now what I want to do is move on to the Bluetooth part. I'm going to connect, and let's take a look on the side here. You've got the ESC connection, a 5 to 12 volt source, and a Type-C connector. The reason there's a Type-C connector is you can use this to connect to your PC and run the Hobbywing software. So I'll show you that. I'll give you a look at that as, oh, you know what? Yeah, you can run the Hobbywing software. I did it. So I'll give you a look at that real quick. We won't spend a whole lot of time in there, but I'll show it to you. So here's the ESC. I'm just going to plug that in, and we plug the ESC signal wire. See, there's an S right there. So the ESC signal wire goes there. And then for the ESC itself, there's a programming port on Hobbywings. You're looking for the P right there. You set programming port. That's where you connect the device. Okay, so that's the connection to the ESC. And then we'll just plug the ESC. You got to give the ESC a little power, and that'll bring the device up. Now what I'm going to do, since you've seen the connectivity, I'm just going to set this all aside a little bit, and I'm going to bring up my phone and the app. I'll give you a look at the app. The app is called HW Link V2. All right, you can get that on the App Store. So click on that. Click the little icon right here on the top right. And when you do that, you should see a list of devices. This one is the HW325. So I'm going to click that, and you can see that it's asking for a password, and the default password is 888888. So just hit 8s. Now, I purposely, on the app, did not save the password because I wanted to do it on the video. I wanted to show you guys what to expect. But now that the video is here, I'm going to go ahead and click the little remember option there, and then hit confirm. So hopefully I don't have to enter the password after that anymore. And you can see on the device screen, it changes to a little Bluetooth logo. And now we're connected. So the first thing I'll do is bring up parameters. And what this will do is load the parameter table from the ESC. And again, this is Bluetooth. This is a nice thing about it. Bluetooth pairing, it was very simple. You don't have to do anything on the box itself. Just turn it on, just like you saw me do. And then you pair it with the phone. It should show up in your parameter list. Make sure Bluetooth is on your phone. The parameter table, it seems like it takes a little longer than I'd like it to take, but there is the configuration. So you can see all the options are available. Fixed wing, helicopter, right? This is what we just saw on the box itself. And LiPo cells if you want to change what number cells, 6S, 8S, 10S, 12S, so, or auto. So all the parameters, these are all the typical parameters. This is what I was talking about with the governor. If you wanted to mess around with the governor, might be nice to have that little Bluetooth dongle so you could do that at the field without taking everything apart. Brake type, brake force, timing, motor rotation, freewheeling, and startup power. All there, just like normal on these things. But I did want to show you the import-export features as well. So export, we can say, let's call this my fixed wing profile, and I've got my Beck voltage at 8.0, and I can type export, and we click on text file, so that's importable, and we'll call this video test. Video test. There we go, and I'll hit confirm. Now I can go back in and hit import, and notice, if you remember earlier in the video, I showed you the junk characters that I used using the profiles on the device. Notice those are not available in here. So it's like there's two separate sections for profiles, and I haven't really found a way for them to cross over, okay? So in this case, you can see I've got fixed wing, heli, and video test, okay? No AAA, BBB, the ones that I did on the card, they're not visible here. You can also manage the profiles by clicking edit, and let's say I want to delete the fixed wing profile. I can hit delete. Now that's gone, and I go back to import. Now I'm down to 2, and I'm going to load up. Now remember, right now we're on fixed wing, so I'll do import and select heli, and you can see it changed over to helicopter linear throttle. So that's very nice. I mean, it works pretty good. I like it. So those are the parameter settings, and I'm not going to do a firmware update, but I will show it to you. If you click on firmware update and hit that button, it will update the firmware on the ESC. I will tell you that at one point I had a firmware update not finish, and I flashed it again and it worked. So it's not like I don't feel like it's going to brick the ESC. It seems like there's a decent recovery capability in there, but I did want to let you know that I did flash it multiple times. The first time I flashed it, it was fine. Second time I flashed it, I had this timeout issue. Third time I flashed it, it was fine. So just keep that in mind, just pointing it out. And I think that's about it. Data logging, there's an option. This ESC only supports peak recording. It does not support data logging, so I click on that, I get an error message, not supported. But if I go back and click on peak recording, I can select airplane, and it will show whatever logs are available on the ESC. So that's kind of nice too. You can see that here's a prior session right there, and you can scroll and see what was going on. The read time, max current. It actually says 45561 amps for current. I'm not sure what the heck that means. Voltage and RPM are listed as well. So that's it. I don't put a whole lot of stock in that part. I'm not sure that that's highly accurate, to be perfectly honest. And then the last thing I'll show you is in settings. You can come in and manipulate settings of the Bluetooth modules. So in here, you have the ability to flash the firmware, modify the name, change the password. Let's see. There is a way in firmware. There was a way to do firmware upgrades in here. Help. Well, I don't know where the heck it is. App version. Let's see. I know it was in here. I saw it. Firmware update. Maybe the hardware firmware. I'm not sure. I could have swore there was a way to update the card firmware, but I'm not seeing it in here. Select the connection mode, Bluetooth. You can change it to Wi-Fi. I don't recommend changing it to Wi-Fi because I have a feeling that will break it. I don't remember seeing anything about Wi-Fi on here, so I think I'll leave it on Bluetooth. And I could have swore there was an app option to upgrade firmware in here, but I'm not seeing it. Let's see. Settings one more time. No. Let's try parameters and click on this. Nope, that goes right into the firmware. So I'm not sure. Maybe it's all the same thing. Maybe I just missed it. Okay, so that's it for the app. Now you've seen the Bluetooth app. Now you've seen the programmer. Next thing I'm going to do is bring up a remote desktop to Windows because I'm on a Mac and you can't use this type of software on a Mac. So I have to use a Windows machine. And I'm going to switch over to, give me just a moment here. And I'm going to switch, I got to switch over to my workspace with the Mac. So here we go. There's the Mac, and we can remove that logo because they're not involved in this video. Now what I'm going to do is connect connect the ESC or the programming box via USB-C to the computer. So I'm just gonna, I probably need to turn Bluetooth off first too. Disconnect. And I'm gonna turn Bluetooth off just to make sure there's no conflicts with the phone. Okay, so Bluetooth is off on the device now. So I'm gonna connect it to the PC, and I'm gonna bring up the Hobbywing app, which is right here. It's called Hobbywing USB Link. And hopefully we'll get a nice little connection. You know what? Give me, oh, there it is. There it is. It loaded up, thankfully. I'm glad that worked. So progress, please wait. And there we go. So now we're in the ESC. And again, you can change the parameters of the ESC through the application that you can download. Everything in here should look familiar. We've been covering this through the whole video. So there's your cell options, throttle control if you're using it for governor for a helicopter. There's the speed governing information, and then firmware update, same kind of concept. You can do a firmware update. Again, I'm not going to do the firmware update because it takes quite a while. It takes a while to do it. But if you want to upgrade the firmware, you select which one you want, just hit apply. If you change a setting and you say, I want to go from fixed wing to helicopter, you can hit apply, and that changes the parameters on the ESC. So all of these features work. 3 different ways I've shown you tonight to program the ESC. You can do it from the card directly, just from the program box. I'll switch back to the desktop, the overhead camera rather. So you can program directly via the programming box, and it works. It's functional. It's handy if you're just doing a quick little thing and you just want to reverse the motor or set your timing or something like that. Very simple to come in here and do that. Obviously come in and change your governor mode depending on what you're trying to accomplish. So that's easy enough to do. You can change your LiPo cell. So, easy enough to work by hand. Very nice app. I think the app looks very clean. It's very easy to understand. Bluetooth function is off. It says, oh, I turned it off on my phone. That's why. I didn't want it to reconnect. All right, let's try that again. Connect, and then we'll connect that one, and there we go. So it connects pretty quickly to the device, and then you can configure via the phone. And as I just showed, you can connect your USB cable and program via the app on your computer. So all 3 ways work. So, I like this one, I think, over the little dongle, because the dongle itself, $65. This programming box is $35 to $40, depending on where you get it. So it's 2/3 the price for starters. It is more expensive than the standard box, but it gives you all 3 options for programming. So I really don't know why you'd take the dongle over this box. It just doesn't make sense to me unless you have a use case that includes leaving the dongle in the model while you fly. That'd be the only reason I could see to do that. But for me, I think, most of my ESC work is done on the desktop. So this makes perfect sense to me because now I've got all 3 modes. I can configure it any way I want. And then, yeah, that's it. So I hope you like the video content. If you like this kind of material, make sure you smash that thumbs up button and subscribe. Hit the notification bell too so you know when new videos hit the channel. That's all I've got for tonight. Take it easy and go fly something.